So it's a beautiful Thursday among everything else. So let's jump into a Patreon listener question. Once again, if you want to be part of the Transformers Slag podcast Patreon, come join us. Let us know we're doing a good job. Help support the podcast. Patreon.com/Protoman. Check the description below or check the pinned comment. So what does the Patreon get you if you join us? Well, you get your name put in the end credit scroll of every segment moving forward from your patronage. You get access to the Transformers Slag Discord, exclusive only to the patrons, where we put lore downloads of rare lore that I once in a while cobble together from the archive and or translate. I did one recently. I translated a whole bunch of pages of some really obscure Transformer Japanese manga stuff. We also post sales of all kinds of stuff that's happening around the world. If you want to find out what's happening in Target, Walmart, or if you're a Canadian with Toys R Us, we let you know what sales are around the world to save some money on your hobby, including some little websites too, and all the cool stuff that they're selling. Depending on what tier, also, you might get a little prize in the mail, a little something in the old snail mail. I'm actually working on a little something for my higher tier patrons, little 3D printed project for everybody. And of course, the Patreon listener question. So here we have a Patreon listener question from longtime patron. I feel like it's 4 years now. Massive Gains wants to know, hey Protoman, I want to pick your brain about something. With Masterpiece slowly finishing G1 Season 1 and Season 2 characters, and will slowly start doing the animated movie and Season 3 characters, what do you think will be picked when the time does come to do Season 4 characters? I know you're going to apply of a more business side to thinking of who it'll be, but I'd like to just know one way or another. Have at it, my man. Massive Gains. Well, thank you for the question, Massive Gains, and supporting the podcast all these years. So what he means essentially is Season 1, Season 2, so 84, 85 Generation 1 characters, and animated movie in Season 3, so Transformers the movie 1986 and 1986 Series 3 characters and or toys. So what would be picked from Season 4, as he calls it, or I'll even overlay it, Year 4, 1987, and going into, let's say, the Headmasters Japanese anime stuff, Season 4, Rebirth Part 1, 2, and 3. So that bubble of characters, pretty much. The Headmaster era, the Target Master era. So technically, we've actually had Season 4 and that kind of era of characters, 1987 characters, but they were all a result of, hey, we got the mold, let's do a repaint. So, like I'm talking about like MP13B Sound Blaster, the black Soundwave repaint, MP37 Target Master Artfire, the Inferno repaint, MP40 Target Master Hot Rodimus, aka Hot Rod, the Target Master repaint of MP, I think it was 38 Hot Rod, or 28 Hot Rod. Point being is that these were guys that would not have existed if there wasn't a previously existing mold. Otherwise, there has been no original sculpts made of 1987 characters for the Masterpiece line. So who would I pick? Now, obviously, the easy answer always is to fall on the leader characters. You always got to say, oh, you got to do, the leader characters of 1987. Well, the problem is the leader characters are damn massive. So we're not going to be talking Masterpiece, Fortress Maximus, and Scorponok. That would just be, I don't know. You'd have to do just the head or something, and that thing would still be huge. So I'm not going to go with those guys, but from a business standpoint, like you said, I would want to go with something that I feel would sell well, not just to do it to say to do it. That's the problem. That's why when you phase out the leader characters, who really is left of the 1987 lineup that could get a justified Masterpiece equivalency? And what's interesting too, because when you look at the 1987 lineup, both Japanese and in the Western version, Japanese being the Headmasters line and the Western stuff being the 1987 lineup, most of these characters, if not all, have gotten some kind of modern interpretation, with the exception of a few select Target Masters like Sure Shot and Point Blank and some of the Throttle Bots. But otherwise, practically everybody has gotten some kind of Generations version or Classics or Universe or whatever. Someone's got some kind of update. So it really is then asking yourself, like, well, if we're going to go into Masterpiece, we're not going to be treading into a character that hasn't had a toy in a while. So we're not going to be doing like a Masterpiece Point Blank or Sure Shot when, you know, Hasbro and Takara didn't even have the confidence to do, say, a Generations of it. And don't get me wrong, I love Point Blank as a character, but I'm just saying, like, it shows that the choices would probably be not those. But I'm going to lean more on stuff like, and I've said this before in the past, stuff like Chrome Dome. Because when I look at, like, everyone else, it's a tough one. You know, like, Chrome Dome is the only guy practically out of everything that I could see kind of being able to hold his own as an individual Masterpiece release. He has the credibility, and he has the pop culture, at least within the Transformers world, demand that he could pull it off. And I know that, I think it's Make Toys, the third-party company, they did a spectacular Masterpiece third-party Chrome Dome. I forget what the name is. I'm bad with those. But I remember seeing that and going, wow, that's about as good as it's going to get, in my opinion. And I think it was really affordable, too. Here I am, like, praising third-party. Make a note of that. But it was really good. It was really, really good. But on the same time, like, in my opinion, it would be like who you would do if you're going to do 1987 characters. Like, you do Chrome Dome, and then after that, it's like, I mean, again, this is the business side of me. Like, you wouldn't do, like, the monster bots, really? Like, how well would those sell? You know, with the margins and how many numbers of these would have to be produced by Takara-Tomy, it would be pretty crazy. You know, like when you think of like even like Punch Counter Punch, or who else is like a good 1987 unique character. I mean, you couldn't go into stuff like Skylinks. That thing would be massive. The Dual-Cons, you know, a lot of them are just. It's like, would you really want to go that route? Six Shot would be one. To me, it's like, it's the same thing where it's like, yeah, we could do a Masterpiece Six Shot. That would be amazing, and probably people would be hyped about that. But that would be one expensive product. We already have Six Shot within that Generations price point and scale, and he's that leader class. He's already a big figure. He's going to be something that's going to be like a Commander. It would be crazy. And the budget that would be put into him to pull off all 6 modes, maybe the 7th mode with the Winged Wolf mode on top of it. It would have to be those two. It would have to be on the Autobot side. Chrome Dome is the most justifiable of the bunch. The others, unfortunately, like Hardhead and Highbrow and Brainstorm, like those guys just don't have that character credibility from a worldwide perspective. Again, I understand your love of the IDW versions or other versions of those characters, but I'm saying more specifically for what it's intended to be, which is a Generation 1 1987 representation of that capsule of time, whether it be the Japanese or the Western version, and what you're trying to sell. And I feel at least Chrome Dome could get away with it because he really was the face of the brand in a lot of ways during 1987 because Fortress Maximus was too big a figure and spent too much time inside his Battleship Maximus mode than actually being on the field of battle, which has always been kind of a negative of that character too when it comes to brand recognition. And it's kind of the same thing when you look at Lord Zarek, aka Scorponok, or Mega Zarek in Japan. Six Shot got a lot more screen time in a lot of ways, and he was kind of that breakout character in the Headmasters TV series. No surprise, and he, spoiler, became a good guy later on in a very Dinobot-esque kind of style. But the point is that I could see Six Shot and I could see Chrome Dome, but Six Shot is the more difficult one because of how expensive he would be. But that also goes into the conversation that I've had with people where I think Takara is slowly testing the water with more expensive Transformer product. We're going to be getting Masterpiece Raiden in the future, so we're going to get our first ever Masterpiece non-third party combiner, and that's going to be an expensive guy. So I can only imagine how that's going to go. But they're going to test the water with that. Combined with, we're also getting Skyfire at some point. That's slightly taller than Starsaber's Masterpiece. So that's going to be another pricey Masterpiece coming up. So I think with those two, they're going to be able to see how well those sell. And if those sell well, then they could probably entertain the idea of something like Six Shot in the future. But at least in the case of a Headmasters, Autobot car, a Chrome Dome could be done. Because he's an Autobot car, he's not too complicated, that transformation. You wouldn't be reinventing the wheel in a lot of ways, so much just tinkering with it and making it as show accurate as possible. We've already had a few modern Chrome Dome toys done on the Hasbro Takara side of things, so they just have to revisit that engineering and clean it up a little bit. Or, just look at the Make Toys one. It did a fantastic job, so it's one way that I would look at it. And if I had to really squeeze one last one out of it, I don't know. That's a tough one. Literally, I could get two out of it, but that third one, it's just there's nothing that I would want to hitch my saddle to, and let's say if if it didn't sell well, I'd be fired from Takara or Hasbro. There's nothing I'd really have a lot of confidence in. There really isn't. It's not good. It really isn't, because you got the Autobot and Decepticon clones. You got the Decepticon and Autobot Headmasters. A lot of those, it's who would be a really good seller that would move 10,000 units very easily? It'd be very difficult. The only one I could think of that might have a little bit of a kitsch value and people might dig it, I guess if you do Punch Counter Punch as a double spy kind of Masterpiece thing and really make it the best Masterpiece figure it could possibly be. That's about it, really. And even then, I'm kind of going ooh, and I'm still not 100% confident on that one. So I would just really go with Chrome Dome and Six Shot. And even Six Shot's a little distant. Chrome Dome's the guy that I'd stand behind. And even from a personal standpoint, let's say it wasn't business, who would I want? Well, then I'd want Chrome Dome. I'd probably want Point Blank, because Point Blank is awesome. Who would I want from the Decepticons? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I guess Six Shot, He would probably be the best one. I'm not a big fan of the Decepticon Target Masters or Headmasters, so I guess we'll give Monzo his Masterpiece finally. So we'll give Weird Wolf a Masterpiece. I don't know. Either way, that's what I kind of take from it. Again, I'm going to go with Chrome Dome. Who do you guys think? Give some direction here for Massive Gains and let them get an idea. But if none of these ever happen, there's a really good Make Toys one of Chrome Dome out there. So at least that'll fill the void until whenever that is, that Takara decides to go down that route, which I still think is a long way to go, in my opinion. There's still a lot to go on that plate when you really think about it, of what hasn't been done of Season 2 and Season 3 yet. And Season 1, really, when you think about it. 84, 85, 86 still has a lot to go. So let me know what you think, guys. And once again, thanks for the listener question, Massive Gains. And if you want to be like Massive Gains, join the Patreon, join the Transformer Slag Patreon listener question if you want to ask one. Patreon.com/Protoman. Check the description below, check the pinned comment, and come join us and rock out on the Patreon.